Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Monday, June 30th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside today is shaping up to be a warm one, with the high reaching 93.4 degrees Fahrenheit and the low dropping to 68.6 degrees. Remember to stay cool and hydrated as you go about your day. Coming up on today's show, we'll be discussing the troubling situation surrounding vital hurricane tracking data that has mysteriously disappeared and is no longer accessible. We'll also dive into the complex legal hurdles that states are facing as they attempt to implement new regulations on social media usage for minors. All this and more is on the way. Stay tuned to Alex's News. We're starting our broadcast with a major development that has weather experts across the country up in arms. As of today, June 30th, the U.S. government has decided to cut off public access to critical microwave data vital for hurricane forecasting. This move, driven primarily by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, in conjunction with the Defense Department, has sparked widespread concern. For more on this, we turn to our reporter Ethan. Ethan, what exactly is happening here and why is it causing such a stir?
Grace, this is a significant development for our ability to forecast hurricanes, particularly as we're right in the middle of the Atlantic hurricane season. As WGCU Public Media and the Associated Press reported yesterday, June 29th, NOAA and the Defense Department are ceasing the ingest, processing, and distribution of data collected by 3 Defense Meteorological Satellite Program, or DMSP, satellites. Think of these as our eyes in the sky for storms, and now those eyes are effectively closed to the public.
So, Ethan, why is this particular type of data so crucial for hurricane forecasting? What makes it so unique compared to other satellite information?
Grace, this isn't just any weather data. We're talking about microwave data, which is truly unique because it provides crucial 3-dimensional details of storms that traditional visible or infrared satellites simply cannot. As the Las Vegas Sun and AP Technology Summary Brief noted yesterday, this technology allows forecasters to, quote, peer under, quote, a storm's surface and discern its internal dynamics, even at night. This is essential for detecting the rapid intensification of storms, where a hurricane's wind speeds dramatically increase in a short period. It also helps plot their likely paths with far greater accuracy.
And what's the immediate impact of losing this capability, especially concerning that rapid intensification you mentioned?
Experts are truly sounding the alarm, Grace. The DMSP satellites, specifically their special sensor microwave imager and sounder instrument, have been a cornerstone of weather forecasting for decades. Without this unique capability to observe the formation of a storm's inner core, which is a key indicator of impending rapid intensification, forecasters may struggle to predict when a storm will quickly escalate in strength. According to Substack.com, this could leave coastal communities with less time to prepare, leading to less accurate forecasts and potentially underestimating a storm's power or misjudging its landfall location. It's a cloudy outlook indeed.
NOAA, however, has a different take on this. What is their official stance, and how do experts respond to it?
Yes, Grace, and NOAA claims this is merely a, quote, routine process of data rotation and replacement, quote, asserting that other remaining data sources are, quote, fully capable of providing a complete set of cutting-edge data and models that ensure the gold standard weather forecasting the American people deserve, quote, according to their own website. However, many weather experts vehemently dispute this. Hurricane specialist Michael Lowry noted to WGCU Public Media that only about half as much other microwave data will be available, greatly increasing the odds of forecasters missing rapid intensification or misplacing storms. University of Miami hurricane researcher Brian McNulty called the loss, quote, alarmingly bad news, quote unquote, insanity, quote. Others have stated this will, quote, severely impede and degrade, quote, hurricane forecasts for the current season and beyond.
That sounds like a significant disagreement. What about newer satellites like the Advanced Technology Microwave Sounder, or ATMS, on the Joint Polar Satellite System, or JPSS satellites? Can't they fill the gap?
It's a good question, Grace. NOAA is indeed relying primarily on the ATMS instrument. While it provides valuable data, as eoportal.org highlighted, some analyses suggest its scan quality degrades at the edges of its swath, potentially limiting its precision. And while the GOSR series, also mentioned by eoportal.org, is advanced for visible and infrared imagery, it lacks a comparable microwave-sounding instrument for seeing through cloud cover to the storm's core. That was a critical DMSP function that the new systems simply can't replicate. It seems like we're caught between a rock and a hard place.
So where does this leave us in terms of a replacement? I understand there's a new satellite called WSFM that was launched recently. Why isn't its data available to the public?
Well, Grace, there's a new satellite, the U.S. Space Force's Weather System Follow-on Microwave, or WSFM, which was successfully launched in April 2024, as SpaceForce.mil confirmed. It's intended to be a successor to the DMSP's microwave capabilities. However, as of July 2025, data from WSFM is currently not available to the civilian meteorological community, including NOAA and the National Hurricane Center. The primary reason cited is, quote, cybersecurity concerns related to the aging ground systems of the DMSP, quote, according to NOAA.gov. The DMSP's ground data processing system is reportedly running on an, quote, end-of-life operating system, quote, that cannot be upgraded, making it vulnerable.
And there's no clear timeline for when this new vital data will become available to forecasters, is there?
Unfortunately, no clear timeline, Grace, as DefenseNews.com reported. This lack of a seamless transition and a secure, concurrently developed ground system for civilian data distribution from WSFM appears to stem from a confluence of factors, including a long history of troubled replacement programs and a primary focus on meeting military requirements for the WSFM. In a broader context, this decision is framed by some, including Mark Alessi from the Union of Concerned Scientists, as, quote, another attempt by the Trump administration to sabotage our weather and climate infrastructure, quote, referencing previous cuts to NOAA's workforce and funding, according to WGCU Public Media. It's particularly concerning given the ongoing hurricane season and that climate change is leading to more frequent and costly storms. Historically, while transitions have raised concerns, bridge satellites like Suomi NPP successfully ensured continuity, as NASA.gov documented. This situation is starkly different.
It sounds like a perfect storm of challenges, Ethan, hitting us just as the hurricane season ramps up. Thank you for shedding light on this critical issue.
My pleasure, Grace.
That was Ethan. And we will continue to monitor this situation. Coming up next, we have story 2 of 2. Welcome back, everyone. We continue our look at the digital landscape, turning now to a significant legal battle brewing between states and tech giants over social media regulation for minors. It's a complex issue, balancing protection for children with fundamental online freedoms. For more on this, we turn to our tech reporter, Chloe, who's been following this digital dilemma. Chloe, tell us what's happening.
Grace, it's certainly a tangled web. Today, June 30th, 2025, a major tech industry trade group called NetChoice filed a federal lawsuit in Fayetteville, Arkansas. According to reporting from The Hindu, this suit challenges 2 new social media laws that Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders signed earlier this year. This really signals an intensifying conflict across the nation.
So Arkansas is at the forefront of this, but NetChoice sounds familiar. Haven't they tangled with Arkansas before?
They certainly have, Grace. As The Hindu reported, NetChoice, whose members include tech titans like TikTok, Meta, and X, argues that Arkansas has, quote, doubled down on its overreach, end quote. This refers to a previous judicial setback where a federal judge in Arkansas actually struck down a 2023 state law also challenged by NetChoice, that required parental consent for minors to create new social media accounts. It's a persistent legal tug-of-war.
And what exactly are these two new laws in Arkansas that NetChoice is challenging? Let's start with the first one, Act 901. What does it aim to do?
Act 901 is quite comprehensive. It prohibits social media platforms from using any design, algorithm, or feature they, quote, know or should have known through the exercise of reasonable care, end quote, would cause a user to end their life, purchase a controlled substance, develop an eating disorder, or develop an addiction to the platform. According to the Hindu and the Galveston County Daily News, this law, importantly, allows parents of children who died by suicide or attempted to take their lives to sue these social media companies if their children were exposed to content promoting self-harm. Companies could face civil penalties of up to $10,000 per violation. NetChoice, however, argues this is unconstitutionally vague and could even restrict songs mentioning drugs, for example.
That sounds like a heavy lift for parents seeking justice. What about the second law being challenged?
The second measure expands on previous restrictions. As the Hindu and Broadband Breakfast detail, it requires platforms to ensure minors do not receive notifications between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., and that their platform, quote, does not engage in practices to evoke any addiction or compulsive behavior, end quote. NetChoice argues this law is also too broadly written, questioning what constitutes addictive behavior. For instance, they ask if simply allowing teens to share photos with each other evokes addiction. Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin's office stated they are reviewing the complaint and look forward to defending the law.
This leads us to the bigger picture, Chloe. Arkansas is not alone in this. We've heard a lot about states pushing for online age verification. Can you tell us more about the national trend and what these age verification laws entail?
Absolutely, Grace. Many states are enacting these social media restrictions, driven by increasing concerns about their impact on children's mental health. A central component, as you mentioned, is online age verification, which aims to prevent minors from accessing age-restricted content or creating accounts without parental consent. Proponents believe these laws are crucial to protect children from harmful content and online predators. However, critics raise significant concerns, particularly around privacy risks due to the collection of sensitive data, and potential impacts on free speech, fearing that platforms might over-censor. There are various methods, ranging from simple self-declaration to more complex ID scanning, biometric verification, or using third-party services, each with its own set of pros and cons, especially regarding privacy and accessibility, according to our internal prompt information.
So it's not just Arkansas facing these legal hurdles. Have similar laws been blocked in other states, and what does that signal for Arkansas's chances?
Yes, Grace, it's a national trend with many states hitting similar legal roadblocks. Judges have blocked comparable age verification and content restriction laws in Florida and Georgia, the latter of which was set to take effect tomorrow, July 1st. Our internal prompt information details a number of similar cases. California's Age-Appropriate Design Code Act and another law limiting late-night notifications have preliminary injunctions against them. Ohio's law requiring parental consent for minors under 16 was permanently blocked in April of this year. Utah's laws also face preliminary injunctions. Even New York's Stop Addictive Feeds Exploitation, or Safe for Kids Act, enacted last June, is now in effect, though regulations are still being promulgated. Broadband Breakfast and the Galveston County Daily News recently reported that the Supreme Court upheld a Texas law aimed at blocking kids from seeing online pornography, but importantly, the Supreme Court's July 2024 decision in Time Moody v. NetChoice NetChoice v. Paxton emphasized the First Amendment rights of social media companies, strengthening NetChoice's arguments in these cases. Louisiana, Maryland, and Mississippi are also in various stages of legal challenges. It really shows how tech companies are putting up a strong fight. often citing free speech concerns.
That's quite a list of states. Chloe, for laws like Arkansas's Act 901, which allow parents to sue, proving direct causation seems incredibly difficult. How do plaintiffs even begin to prove that a platform's design, rather than user-generated content, caused harm like suicide or an eating disorder?
That's the multi-million-dollar question, Grace, and it's an exceptionally high bar. Scientifically, while the APA, NIH, Stanford, and HHS have established strong correlations between high social media use and negative mental health outcomes, proving a true direct causal link from a specific algorithm to an individual's harm is complex and debated, especially given the difficulty in accessing proprietary algorithmic data as outlined in our internal prompt information. Legally, under Act 901, a parent would need to prove both factual causation, meaning quote, but for end quote, the platform's design the harm wouldn't have occurred, and proximate causation, showing the harm was a foreseeable consequence. This often involves legal theories of product liability or negligence. The biggest hurdle, often called the quote, black box end quote, problem, is that social media algorithms are opaque, making discovery of detailed information very difficult. However, there's a growing legal argument, as noted in our internal prompt information, that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which typically shields platforms from third-party content liability, may not extend to a platform's own design choices and recommendation systems. So while challenging, courts are starting to allow some cases to proceed.
It sounds like these cases are trying to peel back the digital curtain, so to speak. This truly is a monumental legal battle with significant implications for how we regulate the online world, especially for our children. Chloe, thank you for breaking down this complicated issue for us.
My pleasure, Grace.
We'll be right back after this. Here are some other headlines. In international trade news, it seems a taxing issue has been resolved. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced that trade negotiations with the United States are back on after Canada decided to log off its planned digital services tax. The breakthrough came after a call between Carney and President Donald Trump, setting a new goal for a deal by July of 2025. The now scrapped tax would have placed a 3% levy on the Canadian revenue of tech giants like Google and Amazon. The U.S. had called the measure a blatant attack and halted all trade talks in response. Now, with the tax repealed, negotiators are heading back to the table. This all unfolds under the new leadership of Prime Minister Carney, who took office in March 2025 following the resignation of Justin Trudeau. Meanwhile, a new report alleges South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem may have been putting more than just her name on the ballot, secretly taking a cut of political donations. An investigation by ProPublica claims a dark money nonprofit called the American Resolve Policy Fund routed $80,000 to a personal company Noem established in 2023. The payment was reportedly for fundraising services but was not declared on federal financial disclosure forms required for her nomination as Secretary of Homeland Security. A lawyer for Noem stated the governor fully complied with the letter and the spirit of the law and was simply a vendor for the nonprofit. In South America, Brazilian authorities are hoping to cut the cord on criminal activity in the Amazon. The government has forged a 2-year alliance with Elon Musk's Starlink to stop the rampant use of its satellite internet by illegal miners and other criminal groups. These organizations have been using the high-speed connectivity to coordinate logistics and evade law enforcement in remote jungle areas. Under the new agreement, Starlink will require user identification in the Amazon, provide authorities with data on terminals in illegal areas, and block service to any device confirmed to be used for illicit purposes. Moving to Asia, it seems China is still trying to manufacture a full recovery. Factory activity saw a slight improvement in June, but the sector remained in contraction for a third straight month. The official Purchasing Managers Index rose to 49.7, just shy of the 50-point mark that separates growth from contraction. The small uptick is attributed to a temporary truce in the U.S. trade war, which allowed some state-owned enterprises to boost production. However, smaller firms are still struggling, and factories continue to shed jobs, signaling persistent weakness in the world's second-largest economy. And finally, In a historic draft pick for gender equality, Denmark will now require women to serve in the military. The policy shift, a direct response to growing aggression from Russia, creates a gender-neutral conscription lottery starting in the summer of 2025. The length of service for all draftees will also be extended from 4 to 11 months. Officials say the move is part of a major defense buildup, fueled by a $7 billion fund aimed at strengthening the nation's military in a sharpened security situation in Europe. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 4.0, Gemini Pro 2.5, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.